Welcome back to Bits and Brains. In our last video, we uncovered the sacred geometry and the layers of Vedas. But what did people actually do with all this knowledge? In this one, we'll explore the rise of Yagna culture when the fire rituals became the hottest trend in Arya and discover how ancient sages set the rhythm of the universe with their poetic beats. By the time about 800 years had passed since the earliest Rig Vedic hymns were composed, yagnas were everywhere. People lit sacred fires daily at home, celebrated the moon phases, welcomed seasons, prayed for the rains, marked births, deaths, and marriages, and even celebrated wars won or wars yet to begin. Some yagnas were routine, others grand. Kings performed Rajasuya or Ashwamedh yagnas to flex their political muscles. The scale may have varied, but one thing was constant. You could not do a yagna without a team of Vedic specialists. There were four sets of priests at every big yagna. The first one was called Hotri, who was the mantra chanter from Rigved. The second, Udgatri, or the Samved choir. The third one, Advayu, the ritual action guy from Yajurveda, and the Brahmana, or the silent high priest who knew the Atharved and made sure everything was divinely aligned. So, what happened behind the scenes? From clearing ground to lighting sacred fires, chanting, offering, or even cooking sacrificial food, each act had a formula, a hymn, a divine instruction. The high priest watched over everything that was going on. If something went wrong, boom, the Atharved had spells to clean up the cosmic mess. So, after everything, what did the priest get? At the end of every yagna, the host or the yajman handed over generous dakshina. Now, host is the person who arranged for the yagna, who wanted the benefits of the yagna. At the end of the yagna, he handed out generous dakshina or gifts to the priests who helped perform the yagna. Now, this wasn't just a thank you tip, it was spiritual insurance. The happy priest meant fewer curses, so you had to be very careful not to anger any of the priests. It was truly a win win situation. With all this yagna activity, the chants had to be perfect. And the sages? Well, they turned poetry into science. The Vedas were not just sung, they were structured like musical compositions. Now, in the upcoming parts, let's meet the original beat poets of India. How do you classify a certain grouping of words as verse while another is classified as prose? In English poetry, verse usually involves a rhyme scheme of some kind. In a four-line verse, for example, line 2 may rhyme with line 4, as in the nursery rhyme Mary Had a Little Lamb. Or it may be that lines 1 and 2 rhyme with each other while lines 3 and 4 do the same, as in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, but you knew that already. What you may not have realized is that to give even the simplest verse its lovely rhythmic cadence, the number of syllables per line of the verse also has to follow a plan. Now, in Mary Had a Little Lamb, for instance, the number of syllables in the first, second, third, and fourth line is a nice and regular 7676. Now, in Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, it is 7777. The rhythmic structure is called the meter of the verse. Now, if you think about any Sanskrit shlok that you know or you have heard, you will notice that the lines very rarely rhyme with each other. And yet, there is a lovely beat to all the shlokas when they are recited or sung, because keeping to a particular meter or chanda was considered sacred in the Vedic poetry. So the meter of the verse was called chanda. Now, there are different chandas called the seven mouths of Brihaspati used in the Vedic poetry. Now, what are their names and how do they work? Let's find out. So, the first chanda, let's talk about Gayatri. That was the first chanda. So, the famous Gayatri mantra from Rig Veda is actually a salutation to the sun or Savitra. It is called the Gayatri mantra because it is composed in the Gayatri meter, the shortest and the most sacred of all the Vedic meters. A verse written in this meter has three syllable collections, also called foot in English or pad in Sanskrit, of 8 syllables each. So, adding up to 24 syllables in all. Count the syllables in Gayatri Mantra and see for yourself. Did you notice that the first line of the Gayatri Mantra has only 7 syllables? No one is sure why that is. Perhaps it is because the words are pronounced a little differently in Vedic times. When it is recited today, to keep the sanctity of Gayatri meter, some people split the word and say Varinyam. The second chanda was called Ushni. With two padas of 8 syllables and one of 12, the Ushni has exactly 4 syllables, more than the sacred Gayatri. The third chand was called Anushtub or Anushtub, the favorite meter of the post Vedic poets. The Anushtub is used extensively in the verses of Rig Veda, the Mahabharata, the Ramayana, and the Bhagavad Gita, apart from Purans and ancient scientific works in Sanskrit. The famous prayer to Ganesh is composed in the Anushtub meter. Can you calculate the number of padas, the number of syllables per pad, and the total number of syllables in this meter? Look at the screen and figure out. The answer is it has 4 padas of 8 syllables each, 32 syllables in all. Now let's talk about Brihati. Like the Anustub, this one also has 4 padas, except in the Brihati's case, the third pad has 12 syllables instead of 4. The fifth one is called Pankti. This chant has 5 padas, with each 8 syllables making 40 syllables in all. Now let's pause for a moment. Have you noticed a pattern, a progression in the 5 chandas we have looked so far? If yes, you will know without reading further or looking further exactly how many syllables in the next chand, the Trishtub, we have. Make your guess now and see if you got it right. Tristub, the second most favorite meter of the Rig Veda poets after Gayatri. The Tristub is used extensively in Sanskrit drama, epic poetry, and literature. It is also used in Bhagavad Gita to great extent to emphasize the dramatic effect in chapter 11. So here's how it was done. In chapters 1 through 10 of Gita, sitting in the palace at Hastinaputra, the royal charioteer Sanjay describes the scenes from the epic battle about to begin at Kurukshetra to the blind king Dhritarashtra in verse that uses calm and measured Anustub meter. By chapter 10, the rhythm has lodged itself in readers or listeners' mind and he is unconsciously keeping beat. In chapter 11, when in response to Arjuna's request, Krishna reveals his terrifying Vishwaswarup to him, the meter of the verse suddenly changes to Tristub as Arjun becomes incoherent with bliss and wonder, and fear also at the vision of this cosmic Krishna. The change of the beat catches the listener unaware, shakes him out of the complacency, and delivers the kind of mega goosebumps that mega moment deserves. That was a clever technique, huh? So on the screen, can you tell how many syllables and how many parts are there in Tristu? Okay, so the answer is there are four padas of 11 syllables, total 44 syllables in all. The last one now is Jagati, which is the longest meter amongst the ancient ones. The Jagati is used a lot in post Vedic Sanskrit literature. The shlok that you see on the screen is the third shlok from Bhagavad Puran. It exhorts poets and romantics, sinners, and liberated souls to read the Bhagavatam so that their souls may be liberated. Now, as before, do a quick, slow reading of the shlok that you see. And can you tell how many padas, how many syllables per pad, or how many syllables in all Jagati has? Okay, you can hit the pause button and come back for the answer. So the answer is it has 4 padas, 12 syllables per pad, and 48 syllables in total. So did you notice how the number of syllables went up by 4 in each Chanda until 24 syllables in the Gayatri became 48 in Jagati? As always, if you found this episode or video helpful and you learned something out of it, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And stay tuned to the next video where we will talk about the fifth Veda or the Pancham Ved. All right. See you next time. Bye bye.